Wisconsin August primary is still several weeks away, and many local seats are open for the taking.
And that includes for Wisconsin's 73rd Assembly District. However, this is the first election since the district lines have been redrawn. Take a look at this. This is what Wisconsin's 73rd and 74th Assembly Districts used to look like. As you can see, the districts essentially split the Northwoods vertically.
But now they'll be split horizontally. The 73rd Assembly District now stretching across much of Douglas, Ashland, and Bayfield counties. This causing the legislative district to shift from a majority Republican to possibly a majority Democrat.
The 73rd Assembly seat is currently being held by Republican Angie Sapek, but because of these redrawn districts, she decided not to run again.
Now, this leaving two Democratic candidates to put their names on the ballot, trying to tilt the 73rd District blue.
Northern News Now's Cara Kopp sat down with the candidates and tells us more about why they think they should be the ones voted for.
Washburn farmer John Adams.
As a legislator, I think I can bridge that gap, and I want to work on solutions and listen to both sides.
And sociology professor Angela Shroud.
I've always been interested in how we can make changes that would improve people's lives.
Racing to win the Democratic nominee for the 73rd Assembly District seat.
Protecting the lake and protecting jobs is really the important roles for this district.
This isn't Adams' first time running for an Assembly seat. Only last time he ran for the 74th Assembly seat and lost to Republican Shands Green. Now that the borders have changed, he believes his main priorities of protecting Lake Superior, creating jobs, and growing rural Wisconsin's economy will make him a prime candidate.
It's far gone, and it needs a lot of help. And I think I'm somebody who understands that and wants to work with those groups of people, both urban and rural, like I said, and make this district hum again.
On the other hand, this is Shroud's first time on the political stage.
So the four big issues of my campaign are what they are because it's the issues that I've always heard about as being really important to the people of this district.
Those issues include protecting Lake Superior, supporting the educational system, housing, and reproductive health care. Shroud saying she believes her educational background will allow her to make policies that positively impact everyone.
The real question is who knows how to work hard with other people collaboratively.
Adams and Shroud going head-to-head in August. In Duluth, Cara Kopp, Northern News Now.
Thank you, Cara. We did reach out to Republican contender Frank Koska, asking how he feels regarding the changing of the district lines. In a statement, he said the new district lines took a lot of rural areas out of play and does impact his campaign. However, he's gotten positive responses, he says, from his constituents that makes him confident, and he's already working hard toward bringing northern Wisconsin values back to Madison. Again, Koska is the only Republican running for the 73rd and will appear on the ballot in November.